Hi there, I am Josie Styles, and this is my presentation of action plan analysis. Here we go. I have studied the effects of phonics instruction with reading achievement, with the effects that it has with reading achievement. At the school where I teach, we have used Saxon Phonics. This is year 3, and Saxon Phonics, it shows significant gains in reading proficiency. The use of this phonics program with supplemental instruction using multisensory techniques, the student success is just unbelievable. And that starts with age kindergarten and continues through grade 3. This is the data from my classroom at the very beginning of the year. This was in September. Now, of course, we had the break. The students had been out basically since March of receiving the full instruction that we had in the classroom due to COVID. But as I say, this is my second grade classroom in September. As you can see, some students were already achieving benchmark levels, while other students, as you'll see down here, they were significantly lower. With the daily use of Saxon Phonics and additional multisensory techniques, I was able to continue achieving great growth even with these up here. You see some of those scores around 650, while the lowest is down closer to 100, maybe a little bit less. So the use of Saxon Phonics, the high students, it continued pushing them higher, while the lower students, it brought them up significantly, and I'll show you that later. Student achievement requires everyone on board. This is not just classroom teachers, this is collaborative leadership across the board. Ongoing professional learning, the use of letters training for classroom teachers in the state of Alabama is wonderful. Continued assessments with students, curriculum standards. It just takes everything together, and especially instruction and intervention. Our intervention teachers are fantastic. Out of my 19 students this year, I do not have any receiving intervention assistance. I've been able to make some great gains in the classroom and have not required that, which is great because other students have required or needed that, and it didn't take away from their numbers. So this chart shows what goes into making each and every student successful in their reading fluency. This chart also demonstrates that teachers must be continually collaborating, like I mentioned, continuing to collaborate, continuing to learn, working toward a better understanding of what is needed by students. We say it all the time, you have to do what's needed for your students. Students will always change, and we have to do what meets each student. It's not a one-size-fits-all curriculum. Everything is continually changing, and we have to do what is best for those individual students. As parents become younger and younger, students arrive in pre-K and kindergarten less and less prepared to learn. This is not just in the state of Alabama, this is everywhere. Add this to the understanding that curriculum requirements become more and more structured, it makes for a higher number of students who require more intervention and those who are not meeting benchmark requirements. With structured phonics instruction by teachers who are trained in the science of reading, students' reading scores are sure to improve. Structured phonics instruction based on the science of reading gives students a solid foundation in phonemic awareness, reading, and improves students' reading scores. Like I showed you before, some of those students were already making those gains, and it's our job to continue pushing them to get stronger and stronger. And again, I was looking at students who are receiving that Saxon Phonics that has been taught to fidelity versus students who maybe the teacher is not aware or doesn't know how to teach it to fidelity, and they're not doing those small group lessons. They're not doing the intervention. They may not be doing the sensory techniques that help those skills stick with students, you'd say. Here we are in March. This was my data from March. You can see previously I had students who were around the 600, 650 mark. Now they're closer to that between around 950. And then I have 4 students down here who they're on that on watch category. Hopefully when I test again next week, we'll have 100% proficiency. I have 100% proficiency with math, just in our March scores. So I'm hoping for the same with reading. And the way we do that, the way I've been able to do that, is lots of small group work. The things that I do with Saxon Phonics as a whole group, I break that down and I do that with a small group later in the day. So students who may not be grasping all those concepts with a whole group, we do it again. And I can also use some of the Orton-Gillingham techniques, the multisensory techniques that we talked about, Heggerty. Those are some other supplements that we use to make sure students are getting that reading proficiency, that fluency that they need. One of the best practices, like I said earlier, Saxon Phonics. It's fantastic. It's intentional with what we do, and we have seen a great deal of growth. As you can see here, this is some significant growth since September. And each year it is based on prior knowledge so that it continues sequentially as the students progress. Again, this is grade second grade. Saxon Phonics started 3 years ago. So the students I have now, they received this in kindergarten, and it's just continued to build and make them stronger with their reading fluency. As you can see, this does remain confidential. You can see all the students' numbers where they are, but you can't tell which student is where. So using this data with our meetings each time, the confidentiality is still there because it is not labeled with each student's name as to where they are on that chart. Special populations, they also use this program, and again, with the different tiers of instruction, they receive whole group, they receive small group from their teacher, and they're also pulled for their small group intervention needs. And again, this is used at that time to make them or to help their learning. So it's successful for all students. It's a one size fits all on that. So anyway, there we are. There is what I have seen with Saxon Phonics and the growth that has happened this year. Similar the last couple of years, it has had some great improvements. So again, the implementation of a great phonics program to build reading fluency is irreplaceable.